ECU?
R.
Do you bleed purple and gold?
Are you ready to hoist the colors?
Hoist the colors!
It's time for the most in-depth look into the world of ECU athletics. Welcome to Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Watch the show live on Facebook
and at 943thegame.com. Here's Stephen Igo.
It is Hoist the Colors on a Thursday, January 15th edition of the program. We're live on YouTube, X, and Facebook. As always, remember to subscribe to our channels, Apple Podcasts and Spotify, to get the archive version if you miss any of the show. Also, check out the archives on YouTube and Facebook if you like watching us on video. And a reminder to get 50% off hoistthecolors.net, our written component. We're running that special towards the end of this month, so make sure you take advantage. We won't have a better deal probably until late summer going in the preseason camp, so make sure to take advantage now. On today's program, we will continue with our ECU baseball player profiles as we are, I believe, right at 30, maybe just inside 30 days until first pitch on February 13th between ECU and Xavier, running down the ECU baseball roster numerically to provide a snapshot of what to expect from the players this year. Maceo Donald, ECU sideline reporter and former Pirate football player, will join us in segment 2 to talk about the transfer portal, the NFL playoffs, and more. And the Pirates add a safety transfer, Miles Pollard from Memphis. We'll break that down at some point in today's show as well. We are going to lead with basketball. Pirates lose at USF. They've lost 5 in a row. They've lost now all 4 conference games, and I think it's time to at least have a little bit of a big picture discussion on the state of the program and much more. We'll do that. We've got Philip Hilkinen. He's back in the 94.3 The Game studios. Philip, we were trying to diagnose as well some of this breaking news on the college basketball front, and I just want to clarify, there's been some confusion right off the bat that ECU had a player involved in this. That is not the case from my research. ECU was impacted by the scandal, and I can give more on that in a minute, as a player on the opposing team basically threw a game against the Pirates. But crazy morning. I was watching some of the press conference for that, trying to figure out, and it sounds like the investigation is ongoing, has a lot of weeds to it. So this is one of those side effects, I think, of betting in sports, especially college sports, that unfortunately you're going to have these instances. I think as much as people maybe benefit from it, it also causes some harm.
It does. And, look, I'm just going to go on a limb and say the 1919 Black Sox were probably not the first team to even do it. There were probably teams doing it back in the 1800s in baseball and soccer overseas. But to your point, Stephen, the more you bring the gambling into it, the more people that are doing it, the better chance there is of this happening. We're seeing it, a lot of stuff come out about NBA guys doing it over the last, 4 or 5 months. That's been coming out with some guys. And now here we are in college basketball, and unfortunately this will probably be the norm moving forward.
So again, the situation involving East Carolina, or an East Carolina game, I should say, it was Kevin Cross who played for Tulane, one of their best players. This game was in February of 2024, February 18th. Basically, the defendants in the case offered Cross $30,000 to, quote, underperform in the game. He was averaging around 15 and 11. In that game, I think he took 2 shots from the field, scored 4 points, had 4 turnovers. And ECU, there was a bet on the game. Somebody bet $140,000 on ECU basketball to cover the game spread, which was 2.5. Pirates won 81-67 in 2024. So that is the instance that is referenced, and there was some confusion out there. ECU was involved in the scandal. Not really. They were impacted by the scandal, not involved based on the initial report. So I just wanted to clarify that off the jump. All right. ECU basketball currently is in a tough spot. We talked about it, and at times we've danced around it. It's just been a very disappointing year. We talked about, given the commitment level the institution has made in a rev share and the commitment level that some donors have made. I think people wanted to elevate the program this year, coming off a 19-14 season. Pirates fall again last night to a very good South Florida team, but really trailed by double digits the entire game. They're now 5-12 overall. They are 4-12 against Division I competition. They're 0-4 in the league. You look at every metric, they are 296 via the net. They are 273 via KenPom. I mean, the numbers tell you now, 18 games into the season, that the Pirates are, or 17 games, excuse me, one of the worst teams in college basketball. And, you know, the most disappointing thing for me is, like, ECU has two really good players. Like, if you surrounded Jordan Riley and Giovanni Imajuru with good guard play, this would be a good team, a very good team perhaps. And I know there's been injuries to Jay Shane Woodard and Travion LeBeau, and even Dahi Quinn, the freshman, probably would have played a role. But, like, none of those guys are shooters. And so, like, none of them would necessarily space the floor. Would they make an impact, especially LeBeau and Woodard, on defense if healthy? Absolutely. That's a fair argument. But, like, I still feel like the roster construction, given the attributes of Riley being a slasher, the attributes of Gio needing space to operate in the paint, just was never the best. And we're seeing that now. And I think it would be the same even if you had a healthy Woodard and a healthy LeBeau. But I say all that to say I enjoy watching Gio and Riley. The team is very flawed after that, and you'd be hard-pressed to go around the country, anybody surrounding ECU in these net rankings, to find two players the caliber of those two guys. And it's just a shame that both of them are seniors, Phillip, and we're going to get into the big picture discussion in a minute. Like, you're going to have to restart next year in many ways because those two guys are gone. So, like, you're just kind of unfortunately wasting their senior year. And at this point, you may not even make the conference tournament because only 10 out of 13 teams make the league tournament. So those guys were, again, great last night, but just not getting any help once again.
No, look, every team needs stars. Every team needs a supporting cast. I feel like last year had the stars, no supporting cast. This year, kind of the same deal, but maybe their stars are not as good as last year's stars. I have seen a couple guys start to emerge that I really like. I think the Dimitri Gardner acquisition was big. He struggled early, but hey, he hadn't played basketball in live bullets in 10 months. He's looked good. I think the injury to Eli Delorier may be the best thing that ever happened to him, because since he's come back from that injury, he has looked like a serviceable member of this basketball roster. Reed Kaysen shows flashes, but still the problem is a lot of these guys that we're mentioning, you feel good if they're your 8th best player. And they're giving you, 8-10 minutes a game. The problem is the guys we just named right now, we're looking for one of them to become our 3rd best player. And I just don't know if these guys are good enough all-around scorers to go out and be your 3rd best player in the shot clock era, in the heavy three-point shooting era, in the era of basketball that we play high speed in 2026. And that's the tough thing. It seems like your role players are, again, 7th and 8th men, and that includes or should be 7th and 8th men, and those are guys that are starting. That's just the tough thing right now. The offense sometimes has continuity, and sometimes it looks like the first day of rec practice when none of these kids have ever even met before, and the only guys that know each other are 2 kids that had 3-year-old preschool together. I mean, that's kind of what it looks like.
Johnny Robertson says Jordan Riley is averaging 39.25 minutes per game in the Pirates' last 4. He has played 39-plus minutes in 6 of the last 11. Of course, you do have an overtime game in there as well. But still, yeah, I mean, look, credit to Jordan Riley, credit to Gio Imajuro. These guys are busting their tail. I mean, Jordan's taking shots in the shoulder, staying in the game. And I do want to credit the coaching staff as well, because this has been a brutal season in terms of the injuries, and they could easily roll over. Even last night, getting down 20, no real hope. I mean, if there's one thing I'm confident in with Mike Schwartz, like he knows how to get through to his guys. They're going to battle. They're going to fight. They're going to give his all. Motivation and actual coaching, getting the most out of his guys, like that is a clear strength, I think, of Mike Schwartz, and that's been a strength since he got here. My question is, we now have 4 years of recruiting and talent evaluation. And to me, like, you're never going to have a high hit rate, I don't think, like super high in basketball recruiting. There's going to be a high rate of turnover. But, like, if you look, and I've broken down every single full recruiting class Mike Schwartz has had at ECU, the hit rate is just minimal. I mean, you look at it, I've got 30 players who have been on scholarship, recruited on scholarship. I have 5 guys who are undoubted unquestioned hits, in my opinion. So I'll run through the list here. 2022 high school recruits. Ezra Assar, definitely a hit for me. You also had Caleb LeCount, Ben Baila, who was a JUCO, Saxby Sunderland, Elijah Jones, who's gone on to do some good things but didn't happen at ECU, Val Pinedo, Jaden Walker, Quentin DeBunje were transfers that year. In 2023, Sierra Malonga to Corey Faison, Callum Richard was your high school class. Transfers, you added Cam Hayes and Bobby Pettiford. Now I have, Philip, help me out here. I have both those guys as hit/question mark because, I mean, Bobby Pettiford was solid for a year. Cam Hayes, I don't think ever really turned into the guy we wanted. So, like, I almost give them, like, half a hit. But to me, like, not like a clear, like, definite hit out of the portal.
I think those guys played to their potential here. And their potential was they're the kind of players that when they're around good players, they're going to play really, really well. They're not good enough to be game changers, but I can still count those hits because every guy you recruit can't be a game changer. You can't have 8 game changers out there playing. Even the greatest teams of all time, the Bulls team that went 72-10 didn't have 8 or 9 game changers. I would say those guys were hits because you brought them in to be solid role players who you could trust, and that's what they were.
In 2024, Pirates recruited Tybo Bailey. I guess jury's still kind of out on him. I still wouldn't necessarily call him a surefire hit at this point. LaDante Felton has barely played. Jay Shane Woodard, I would say a hit. Again, has been slowed by injuries. Travion LeBeau, I also have as a question mark. Like, I think he definitely has a role, but he's not a guy, to me, who's, like, going to change the program. He's definitely a role player, I would say. Reed Kaysen out of high school. I should say Woodard and LeBeau are both JUCO guys. Reed Kaysen out of high school. Again, kind of jury's still out there. Transfers in 2024, you had huge hits with Jordan Riley and C.J. Walker. They also had Jan Farrell and Julian Samaro in that class, promising additions at the time. Both guys are doing pretty well now. Julian Samaro is back with Tim Kraft of Western Carolina. Jan Farrell barely played here at Sacred Heart right now. He is averaging 11.4 points per game and shooting 42% from three-point range, Philip. So, like, why could we not make that work with Jan Farrell last year? Like, we could use that right now.
We could.
I mean,
wasn't that the thing coming in, though, too, that he was supposed to be a big-time three-point shooter? Like, that was part of his... Yeah. We're going to need a spiritual person to figure out what's going on in Minji's Coliseum. There's some kind of bad juju going on in Minji's Coliseum when it comes to shears. So I'm not I'm not one of those who can communicate with those beyond our realm. You can't be asking me these questions.
It's just, I feel like he never really got a chance to get into a rhythm here, and maybe it was he didn't fit the defensive philosophy. But again, if you can shoot, you can shoot. All right, in this year's class, jury's still out on many of these guys, but high school you recruited Dahi Quinn, Patty DRC, JUCO edition Corey Calker, who has been a miss compared to expectations. Vito Perkovich, we'll see. And then transfers, Isaiah Mbang has been just okay. Eli DeLaurier, jury's still out. And then Giovanni Yemajuru, undoubtedly a hit compared to expectations. So, I mean, you just go through all those names, and the hit rate is low. And so, like, to me, there's a clear sign of, again, I like Mike Schwartz's vision for the program. I like his ability to get the most out of guys. But, like, 4 years now of this, and the recruiting has not been where it needs to be. Like, a lot of the reason of last year's success, along with C.J. Walker and Jordan Riley, was because he was able to retain and develop R.J. Felton, who was originally a dually guy. So you got to take that into account as well. And I think John Gilbert at the end of the year is going to have a decision to make with Coach Schwartz, given where things are heading. For me, I just want to see them address the philosophy of recruiting and roster building. They got to find a better way to put this thing together. Because even if you had a healthy Jay Shane and Travion, I don't think this is a good team. I think they're better. I don't think they're good. So, like, how do you address that if you bring Mike Schwartz back? I think that's my biggest question at this point. Because otherwise, you have 4 years of this. The talent evaluation is not successful. I think you can make that argument at this point.
Look, Stephen, what I'm about to bring up is just going to be a quick thing. I think we would have to do a whole segment or a whole show on what I'm about to say. If you're playing FBS football in the year 2026, or you're in the Big East, you need to set aside some money for a GM. Yes, Coach Perry is technically our GM. Guess what? He's also a coach. It was hard to construct rosters in college basketball 10 years ago. It was part of the job for coaches, but it was still hard. And you were recruiting 3, 4, at most 5 guys in a year. You're recruiting 12. Even if a guy's on your roster, you're re-recruiting him. The coaches do not need to be the GM. The assistant coaches do not need to be the GM. Who was the first school to sign a GM, a true GM in basketball? It was Duke. And think of where college basketball today would be without all the innovations that have happened through Duke over the years. And I'm not saying we're going to be Duke, but what I am saying is this is the world we live in the world of the portal, in the world of NIL. The guys who are worried about coaching, X's and O's, and all that can't be worried about roster construction. I think regardless of whether you retain Coach Schwartz or you move on from Coach Schwartz, you need a full-time general manager. And I know this athletics department doesn't have a lot of money, but if that means you have to pay the coach less because, hey, guess what, coach? Now you don't have to worry about being the GM. All you're worrying about is being the coach, so we're paying you less. We're going to get you a GM with that money. I think that's where we need to go in college basketball because it's the same as the NBA. It's worse than the NBA. At least the NBA, you got guys under contract for multiple years.
You've got to have as many weapons at your disposal as possible when it comes to building a roster. And even if that GM is just a guy who's well-connected in the industry and has contacts everywhere, I just think that this staff, like I compare, and this is no disrespect to anybody on the coaching staff because I like Riley Davis a lot. I think he's a very good assistant coach, and I like some of the other guys on staff. But, like, I compare this assistant staff to what Joe Dooley had. He had go-getter recruiters on that staff. Like guys who would go out and find Tristan Newton in El Paso, Texas. And certainly they had misses as well, but they also had some huge hits. And I just don't know if right now ECU has the staff to go overcome some of the obstacles they have. And is it easy to assemble that staff? No, but you now have at least some weapons at your disposal with the rev share. There's no excuse to not be getting better talent than this. I mean, just look up the road at teams with less rev share, what they're doing, and talent evaluation, going out, getting guys, even if you're recruiting more of your backyard. But that's been an argument for years. And at times, you know, it's frustrating to see like local talent go around the country, like a Justin Wright who wanted to come here. Is he the flashiest athlete in the world out of Farmville Central? No, but he's produced everywhere he's gone now, wanted to come here multiple times. But, hey, ECU, he's not good enough for ECU. We could certainly use him today. So I feel like we've got to figure out a way to address the talent acquisition piece of basketball, no matter who the coach is. Yeah. And I think a GM is a big part of that.
And then who was the kid who ended up going – and I know this is not a source, this was a Dooley thing. Was it Dunn? Was that the kid who ended up at Temple that was a local kid?
Yeah, Kinston guy, Damian Dunn.
Yeah. It's another one of those. Like, and he usually kicked our butt.
Yep. And then, of course, he went on to bigger things. I think Pittsburgh, but like out of high school, ECU could have gotten him. And, you know, just, it hasn't mattered who the coach is at times. They overthink it. So I don't know, man. It's we've been asking these questions for years. We'll continue to ask them with ECU basketball. I felt like it was time. I mean, ECU's getting to the point now. If they don't beat Charlotte on Sunday, it's going to be a long time, I think, before they get a win in conference play. So we'll continue on with ECU basketball. I do think it'll be a full season sample size that John Gilbert wants to evaluate, and I think that's fair. And I think they are showing signs of getting better as a team, but like it's almost too late now. I mean, it's just you're more than halfway into the season, and it's getting to the point where you're in danger of missing the conference tournament altogether. Let's get a break in. We'll come back. We will switch gears. Maceo Donald will join us, former ECU player, sideline reporter. We'll talk about the transfer portal and more with Maceo after this.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro-adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Healthwise Pharmacy rounds the bases with all of your infusion, retail, compounding, and medical equipment needs. Locally owned and operated by pharmacist Marcy Parker, Healthwise has grown to be your most trusted provider for infusion services. Currently providing in-home or on-site infusions in North Carolina, South Carolina, and Virginia. Visit Healthwise Pharmacy at 615B South Memorial Drive or call 252-295-0059 to speak to a patient service representative to find the option that best suits your needs.
The best burgers around. Everyone loves a thick, juicy, and fresh burger. Tiebreakers does real burgers better than anybody. And don't forget about the cheese sticks, fresh salads, and more. So don't just go to any burger-themed restaurant chain. It's time to break the chain and eat local. Tiebreakers, burgers and sports at its best.
Go Pirates! Arrgh!
In this age of globalization, we've learned that bigger isn't always better. Ever tried to get phone help from a big corporation from a real person? Right. That's what's so nice about Phelps Chevrolet. After more than 50 years serving our community, Phelps remains family-owned and operated. Mike, Daryl, Wave, West, Alan, and Clay deliver hometown service and integrity, same as always. They share your experience, they share your values, and they are ready to help with any motoring need. Come get you one.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
For over 51 years, Parker's Barbecue has brought families together with our award-winning whole hog barbecue and fried chicken. Tradition is important at Parker's Barbecue, and for 3 generations, the Parker's Way has stood the test of time. Whether you visit our dining rooms or drive-thrus, use our on-site catering, or even use our nationwide shipping, the hospitality, barbecue, fried chicken, homemade sides are still the same.
We are the Parker family. Come in and let our family show you. This is the Parker's Way.
The Pirates play here.
Time to play the game!
This is Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Welcome back into Hoist the Colors on a Thursday, January 15th edition of the program. We continue on now by welcoming a good friend back on the air. He is Maceo Donald. He is the sideline reporter on the ECU Sports Network, also a former ECU football player. Maceo, it is a crazy time of year with the portal. We'll get back to the Military Bowl in a second, recap that. But what do you make of all this craziness in college athletics?
Yeah, I think we all knew that it was a different world, but I think this was the first time it just kind of hit me what's going on, and just seeing a lot of our good guys leaving. And then we have some other guys that have came in, but it's still, we still need some more guys. Obviously, quarterback, we're still looking at that position, but it's just insane, man. It's just a lot of money, a lot of NIL, a lot of schools that are reaching down in our kind of level of areas and getting our best guys. So got to find a way to combat it, but still got a long ways to the season.
Yeah, a lot of people are dealing with this in college athletics, but definitely I would say the money difference between, let's say, the American and the Power Four is tough to overcome. Like, I know ECU has offered a lot of these guys, like Jamarion McCrimmon going from ECU to NC State. He was offered, $500,000, I heard, but yet still left to go to NC State. And I don't know, like, you're just going to have to find a way to reload every year, I guess, at this point, unless something's done to change these contracts or get multi-year deals in place.
Yeah, I think it's either one of the two. Probably the more likely situation is finding a way to have a multi-year contract, like you mentioned, or just something to keep them more than just like a semester or a half of a year, and then they bounce and head to another destination. So I think it's something that everybody's fighting with. Obviously, a school like ECU, which is a Division I FBS program, but not at that Power 4 level. Honestly, we're probably right outside of it in the American Conference, but it's just that level where we keep getting our best guys getting taken from different places, and there's nothing we can do to keep them unless we basically give them a majority of our NIL that we have sectioned off for football. So do we want to go get a guy that, might cost us a few $1 million and then the rest of our roster isn't that good? Or do we just kind of want to fill our roster up with guys that, cost a little bit less? But It's a tricky situation. I know those coaches are working hard trying to figure out, obviously quarterback and some of those other skill positions, but it's just so hard to figure out now, man, if you're one of the quote-unquote little guys.
And I guess the good news is ECU is a big guy to, let's say, the FCS. And what they've done is they pulled a fifth-year starting offensive lineman from Northern Arizona who has played a lot of football. They pulled also an all-conference guard, first-team all-conference guard from Kennesaw State and Brandon Best. They pulled a player from Southern Miss and Hayes Krill to play offensive tackle. So I guess it's just going to be a dog-eat-dog world. Obviously, the quarterback situation is still kind of hanging in the balance. They did add Mitch Griffiths. We've heard buzz about Emory Williams, Miami backup, potentially joining after the national title game. So what do you make of the portal additions on paper thus far from what you've been following?
They've been pretty good, I think. Like you said, guys that have played a lot for some of those lower-level schools than us. But I think if you're looking at it as an ECU fan, you see a lot of our guys leaving in South Carolina, like you said, NC State, Georgia, University of Florida. So you see our guys leaving to go to big schools. So you would automatically kind of think we're going to pull some guys that have some big names, and that just hasn't happened, at least in the area that we're in now. So I think as fans, they're looking for that big name guys or those big school guys. I think the only kind of bigger school guy, I think it was a defensive back from Louisville, one of our, I guess, bigger quote-unquote transfers that we got. So I think that's what people are looking for, but I think quality for sure has been pretty good, but can't do anything without a quarterback, and we did get the Texas Tech backup came to us, so we still need that quarterback to make everything run. That's the most important thing.
We're visiting with Maceo Donald here with us on Hoist the Colors, former ECU Pirate football player, also sideline reporter on the ECU Sports Network. We were having the discussion Wednesday, Maceo. I look at a guy like London Montgomery. He was the starter here. First off, he was at Penn State where he didn't play. Comes here, he's the starter, and probably would have been the starter next year. He goes to Florida. Now, he's probably getting more money, but they bring back their top two rushers. He's at best, I think, RB3 there. And so, my question was, is it better to be the guy, get paid somewhat, or is it better to go somewhere else, not play as much, and maybe get paid more? I guess it just comes down to what the players prefer.
Yeah, it definitely does. And I think, isn't London like a younger – he's still kind of got
He's got
a couple
2
years left, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so if I'm a guy like London, I might have stayed at ECU another year and then potentially rolled the dice for my last year. But a guy like him, I'm not sure exactly who their guys over are at Florida, but our old my running backs coach at ECU, Chris Foster, is their running backs coach now. He went to Northwestern, then to Duke. Now he's at the University of Florida. So I'm sure they have those ties there. But, it seems like if I'm going to move up, I'm either going to move up for the money or the playing time. And this one seems like a money move because I just don't – London's a really good player, and maybe he fits in kind of like their scheme. They're going to have some new coaches there. So maybe that's kind of a situation that it is. But, probably some of the older schools are just trying to stack up just in case something were to happen.
Another guy who kind of made a little bit of a head-scratching move, Maceo, was Chasten Ditta. He played pretty well in the military bowl, and then he enters the portal, was probably going to have a shot to compete for the job, and he goes to North Texas where he's also going to have to compete for the job. Now, he is from Texas, so I guess he's just going back closer to home, but how much of a surprise was that to you?
Yeah, I was super surprised. Honestly, when I first heard the news, I thought that, they must have told him that, we're still going to be out here looking for our QB1 in the portal, which is kind of how it has to be now, just being direct with these players and understanding that this is a, services and payment kind of a thing. And I think the players and coaches understand that more now and aren't as sensitive to it. But I was really surprised when he entered the portal just because I thought we haven't had a big signing yet. We still have a guy who's kind of in a similar position as Ditta was, might have been a bigger recruit, but he still was going to be able to compete. But I think that he was probably just rolling the dice. He did have a pretty good performance on national television. If you break it down, it was really like two big plays, both by Anthony Smith. But overall, he played a pretty clean game. So, you never know. I think it's more guys now in the portal that have played just a little bit are way more valuable than maybe a high school guy or someone who has no film. And, getting that film for him that last game on national television was a pretty big deal for him. And obviously he ended up at a pretty good school too.
It feels like it was a lot longer than a month ago or less than a month ago, but the Military Bowl, it was just a few weeks ago. Maceo, you were there. Pirates beat Pittsburgh, and I think one of the better coaching jobs I've seen at ECU with Blake Carroll. Everybody, Pirates lost going into that game, still find a way to win. What did that mean as an alum to watch that thing unfold?
Yeah, it was just crazy because I don't think anybody really knew what to expect. We knew we pretty much had our defense. We knew that our quarterback, arguably our best receiver, and Yannick Smith entered the portal. London Montgomery didn't come back, so we were just low on numbers on the offensive end, and nobody has really been able to see Dida at that point. I think before the game, he might have been like 4 for 7 with 1 touchdown. He got in, a couple games when we were up. So I think that's what everybody was. Everybody was kind of expecting. They didn't really know what to expect. So that game was just super fun, man. I think our crowd showed up. I think the boys came to play. And Coach Harrell, man, we're talking about our players having opportunities elsewhere. Coach Harrell's going to be a hot commodity if he comes out next year and has another 9, maybe plus win season and competing for a conference championship in the American Conference. So we got to do everything we can do to keep him at ECU. And I think he really does love ECU. But sometimes nowadays it's different factors than just recruiting again the players and just for the love of football. Some other factors are in there. But it was a really big coaching job for him. And just back-to-back bowl wins is pretty crazy considering the circumstances.
Yeah, and the thing is with Blake, I feel like with him at the helm going into this year, I think he showed in that bowl game, and he has showed Maceo he's going to get the most out of everybody. And I look at some of the transfers they've added, player development internally. I think he will continue to prioritize. I trust Blake Harrell, and we can have the conversation. Hey, if he has another big year, he's probably gone. But even with the portal turnover, I still feel like Blake is a great evaluator of people and gets the most out of them. And so, I'm kind of confident at this point, no matter what the personnel is, ECU's going to have a pretty good team. Do you kind of feel the same way?
Yeah, I think one thing that's the difference between Coach Harrell and just some of at least the coaches that I've been around, and Scotty Montgomery than Coach Houston, is just, it's so easy to just kind of come to him. Most head coaches aren't that easy to just go talk to or just have a normal conversation with, or just, they're super about ball and just strict and creating that camaraderie and things with the team. But he's the guy that you can still have that camaraderie. You can almost have like a friendship or relationship with him, but you still have those boundaries. And he's done a really great job doing that. I think that was the biggest question, just having that full role as head coach this past season. Just hoping that head coach mentality doesn't get to him where he starts to be a different person. But I think he's been able to be the same guy he's been the whole time. Obviously taking on those responsibilities and been dealing with that in this new age of NIL, and just guys been able to leave all the time. But he's a really good coach. I wish that I would have been over there. I remember we would have side of the ball meetings. Obviously, he was defensive coordinator, and we'd be offensive coordinator, and those guys would be hyped all the time. Just he would have them ready to play and ready to go. So I really do support Coach Harrell, and I really do hope he stays around for a while.
Visit with Maceo Donald. A few more things with him. We'll get him out of here. What do you make of the coordinator hires? We'll start first with the defensive coordinator. Jordan Hankins comes in from Memphis, where he was DC the last few years. And the interesting thing I've heard about this Maceo is basically Blake, he wasn't calling the plays with Josh Aldridge as DC, but he was essentially still running the defense. And I think they're going to basically run his system, and that at least gives them one side of the ball that there's continuity on every year from a scheme staff standpoint. So I think Hankins is coming in. He'll bring some wrinkles, but obviously he has brought some players from Memphis with him. So what'd you make of that hire?
I mean, I think it was pretty good. Obviously, Memphis is a good program pretty much all the time. I think their last few coaches have left to go take bigger jobs. So, obviously a good program. Happy he came here. Another move from inside the American. Even the North Texas OC came from in conference. I guess that's what they're doing now instead of moving up. But I think both of them are really good hires. Obviously, North Texas offensively was able to score a bunch of points this year. And then Memphis, although we beat them, they really do have a good team and just kind of a good fundamental program that they have there. So I think both of them are really good hires. I hope that we're able to fill that defense and fill that offense. So just give them some players so we're just not relying on scheme, because sometimes, the schemes and things like that fall apart. The players just got to go play.
So we move now to the NFL playoffs, Maceo. How are your Chiefs looking?
Well, we're doing really good. We're going to have a top 10 pick for next season. Mahomes will come back off the ACL, but really just weird, strange season this year. I think everyone was expecting a lot with all the players back and healthy. Kelsey's going to want to have a big year on this potentially last season. Haven't heard any news yet. But it was just a season from where. But maybe next year we'll bounce back. But I'm just praying now that the Broncos, just lose this coming week to Josh Allen.
What is your prediction on the NFL playoffs? We got a Buffalo, Denver, and San Fran, Seattle, Houston, New England, LA, and Chicago. It feels so wide open. Even as a Denver fan, I'm probably going to pick Buffalo just because of Josh Allen. But do you have a hunch on who you think gets to the Super Bowl?
Honestly, this year's been so good as far as it being an even playing field just across the board. We see the Chiefs, who have always been in the Super Bowl, but just the playoffs, they're not even in the playoffs this year. The Eagles get bounced in the wild card round, the defending champs with basically the same roster. So it's just been good. You got Sam Darnold. You got, what's his name over there in LA, the Rams, Stafford. So they got those two are the ones that I'm kind of keeping an eye on. The AFC, the Broncos are really good, and the Patriots are really good. Don't really trust the Patriots as well. We don't know what you're going to get from Bo Nix, but they do have really good defense. So I think just as the even playing field as it's been in a pretty much a long time. So that's good. But if I had to just put some money on it on a good day, I don't think anyone can really beat the Rams. Stafford's just been so good this year. So if I had to put money on it, I'd put the Rams. But second to that, probably the Seahawks. Just overall good. If you just get Sam Darnold not to mess up, they got a really good chance of taking it all, unless Josh Allen just becomes Superman.
No doubt. Hard to go against the NFC West at this point. Seems to be the strongest division. All right, final thing, Indiana, Miami. We won't talk to you before Monday night. Do you think Indiana keeps it rolling? They've just been dominant lately.
I think so. I hope not, but I think so. Kirk Cignetti has just kind of done something I don't think any of us is really seeing, especially in this year of just so much transition and guys coming in and out and turnover, especially with not a bunch of 4 and 5 stars. There's really just a lot of 3 stars and under-recruited guys. I think I saw Surratt was playing like a FCS program that I never heard last season or 2 seasons ago, and he ended up with Indiana, which is kind of crazy, and he's going to be an NFL guy. So I think just their coaching job they've done there as well. They never seem to mess up. They're always on point. But I definitely got to roll with Indiana, although I think Miami does have a really good defense. You just don't know what you're going to get from Carson Beck.
He is Maceo Donald. Maceo, it's been fun to catch up with you again, my man. And where can people, again, find your work? You still doing a little bit of everything in the media business?
Yeah, man. Still writing a column, Carter County News Times, every 2 weeks. Writing a sports column with them, but just a regular day job at WCTI 12 in New Bern, producing for them. So trying to create some content wherever I can.
How's it working for Brian North?
Brian's a good dude, man. He's been in the game a long time. He pretty much knows everything. It's funny. I produce, so he anchors and does the sports stuff. So I basically write their scripts and put together the show and things like that. And, with him, he is no reason for us to even put scripts in, because you just see the teleprompter just flying by. He's not reading a thing. He just knows everything. So that's Brian for you. Just been around a long time, put a lot of skin in the game. But he's a cool dude, man. He's helped me out a lot over the years.
No doubt. He does a tremendous job with WCTI. So anytime you see WCTI on screen, just know Maceo is in the background doing the real work. So just
unless
realize
it's something
that,
bad.
Yeah, exactly. Then it's not his fault. Maceo, I appreciate the time, man. We'll continue to connect with you every now and then throughout the spring. But sorry again about your Chiefs. Y'all can take a year off from the playoffs. Y'all be okay.
Pray for us, man.
Yeah. All right, man. We'll see if Mahomes makes it back next year. Thanks again, man.
Yes, see ya.
All right, that is Maceo Donald. We'll get a break in. We'll come back. More Hoist the Colors on the way.
Storm season is approaching. North Carolina weather can damage your roof, and before long, a small leak can turn into a big problem. Your home is one of your biggest investments, so protect it with Wells Home Improvements.
We work with all insurance companies for a hassle-free roof installation experience. Call us today and get 10% off your roof installation when you mention this commercial.
252-227-8403 or visit us online at wellshomeimprovements.com. Wells Home Improvements. Local, honest, dependable.
This is about you, your family, and the health of all who live in Eastern North Carolina. This is about the transformation of a health system into something more powerful and more human. About creating new ways to treat disease and keep you well. This is about ECU Health, which is to say, it's really all about you. ECU Health. Minds, hearts, purpose.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice agency.
Acre Station Meat Farm, along with Lane Angus Beef, bring you Farm to Fork Beef.
Stock your freezers now with affordable beef boxes, just in time for the grilling season.
Farm to Fork Beef brings quality local beef to your family. From your traditional butcher shop, Acre Station Meat Farm. Come on down to Acre Station Meat Farm and find out why we're #1 in fresh cuts and friendly service.
Acre Station Meat Farm, Highway 32 North, Pinetown. At National Finance, we're all about hometown support, just like ECU football. National Finance helps us win on and off the field. They've got your back when you need it most. Fast, easy personal loans for life's big plays. And just like us, they're committed to Eastern North Carolina. National Finance, proud supporters of ECU athletics. Visit nfcmoney.com for loans as fast as today.
Welcome back in, Hoist the Colors, segment 3 here. We've had a lot of discussion already about ECU hoops, and we talked with Maceo Donald about the portal. Speaking of the portal, we'll get to our ECU baseball player profiles here in a minute. Pirate fan wants to know, what do we think about Jiron Waiters going to Campbell? Talk about a head-scratching move. Yeah, I mean, look, he should have stayed at ECU, in my opinion. My opinion, obviously, doesn't really matter in comparison to Jiron's opinion, but I think he could have played here, been in the rotation. Instead, he's going to Campbell. I guess the good thing going to Campbell is he'll be guaranteed, most likely, if he performs to what I think he's capable of, a number 1, number 2 receiver type production, at least targets. So that's a positive, but I just think he should have stayed at ECU, but it is what it is. He moved on. He moved on, and that's where he ended up landing. Somebody else mentioned complaining, or not complaining, but David said, I think one of the hardest things for ECU basketball is that Schwartz has to put on the court a completely different lineup each year. Too many departures. Well, David, that's just the norm in every sport now. I mean, even playing UNCW earlier this year, like, they rebuilt their entire team. They're still a lot better team today than ECU, so that's just part of the gig now. In today's college athletics, does it make it easy to sustain success? Absolutely not, but I just think that you have to be able to deal with that in this landscape. All right, let's move on to ECU baseball. We're doing our baseball rundown, roster rundown. Thus far, we have profiled Jeff Sabater, outfielder, Carlos Hakame, infielder, Jack Strom, Davin Whitaker, and Nick Parham we did yesterday. Today, we're going to do a trio of left-handed pitchers. Philip Hilkinen rejoins us. He'll weigh in here as well. We're going to start with Gabe Beschloss, a sophomore left-handed pitcher from Garden City, New York, who actually made 15 appearances last year. Now, you look at the raw numbers, they're not good. 13.09 ERA, but really for a reliever who didn't see a lot of appearances, a couple bad outings could lead to a bloated ERA. The more encouraging thing for me was 15 strikeouts over 11 innings of work. That signals good stuff as a freshman. He was consistently in the low 90s, pretty solid breaking ball. The bad thing was the 8 walks, and he got hit around a little at times. But I thought potential-wise, Gabe Beschloss, like, in baseball, I'm just looking for traits, upside, especially from these young guys who are thrust into some tough situations. And I saw it last year with Beschloss, and to me, he's a guy I'm looking at taking a step this year, especially if he can make the mental jump it takes to pitch in some high-leverage situations as a young guy.
Yeah, you mentioned it, Steven. There was definitely some swing and misses that he got there that shows he's got good stuff. The tough thing is when Gabe Beschloss was recruited, he was supposed to be one of those guys who did not pitch a lot as a freshman. And he was going to pitch in games that we were up by a lot or down by a lot. there were a lot of injuries, two of which are going to be guys we're going to talk about next. He was put into some situations, Stephen, that I don't think he was ready for. It's not Gabe's fault. It's very few freshmen are ready for those situations. And like you said, if he can get over the kind of what he went through and that doesn't affect him mentally, I think he can be a guy you throw out there as maybe your first guy out of the bullpen on a midweek, right? You know, you get an opener that gives you 2 to 3 innings, and maybe he can be the guy that goes out there and gets you 2 more. So, look, he's one of those guys, the jury's still out. I'm not going to hold that 13 ERA against him. Like I said, there were some times last year, and I can't think of any specific off the top of my head, where I was like, wow, we're putting Gabe Beschloss in this situation. He's not ready, but that wasn't CG's fault, and it wasn't AK's fault. It was just the victim of circumstance.
Somebody had to pitch in those games, and Gabe had to do a lot of that work as a freshman. All right, another left-hander that I expect to see on the mound this year. He was on the team last year, did not pitch, is number 6, Dawson Neal. 6'2", 200-pound lefty. Pitched at Brunswick Community College in 2023 and 2024, and played there under former ECU pitcher Davis Kirkpatrick, who is the pitching coach at Brunswick. During 2024 season, he appeared in 10 games, 5 starts, went 3-0, 4.95 ERA, 48 strikeouts compared to 27 walks and 40 innings of work. So what I was hearing about Neal coming into the program last year, obviously he ended up having surgery, missing the season, but left-hander, decent velo, but really good breaking ball. Profiles as another lefty bullpen guy, matchup guy perhaps, who does have the ability to go multiple innings. But I think in an ideal world, coming off injury, maybe you find him in a specialized role. From what I understand, he was throwing in the fall and is a guy they expect back on the mound this season. So we're going to talk about a lot of guys coming off injury. You never really know what's going to happen in those circumstances, especially pitching-wise, Phillip. But I've heard really good things about Neal's breaking ball, and especially if you can get him in a spot, working back in slowly, you know, left-on-left situations or a pocket of the lineup you like matchup-wise going into a series or a midweek game. I think this is a potential guy for those type of circumstances.
Yeah, I think it all comes down to how does he come back after the injury. Like you said, he had some good stuff in the fall. I think he's a, I wouldn't say like a high upside kind of guy, but I think he's a solid upside kind of guy. One of those guys that you can trust if things go well. It's all going to come down to just kind of those first few outings probably and how he feels. And like I said, you got to put him in early situations to succeed, but I think this pitching staff is much deeper than last year's. So you will have a better opportunity to put guys in situations to succeed. Unlike last year where you're dealing with so many injuries and you just kind of had to throw out whoever wasn't, tired.
And then another lefty coming off an injury, a guy that we expected to be in the rotation last season, was on track to do that. I remember watching him throw in preseason scrimmages. Also remember him walking off the mound after feeling something in his arm in a preseason scrimmage. It is Ryan Towers, 6 foot, 190-pound left-handed pitcher. It looked at a point like he was going to be able to come back during the season. I guess they did more imaging or more testing, and he went in and ended up ultimately getting the Tommy John brace procedure, which is the same procedure that Jake Hunter had the year prior. Of course, we all know Jake kind of overcame those odds and really threw a high innings amount pretty quickly. And I think Towers, I don't think it's fair to have the same expectations, but the general feeling I've got is they expect him back probably around the March time frame at the latest. Maybe he's pushing a little bit ahead of schedule, but we'll find out more on media day. But another guy, kind of a wild card, coming off a major injury. At least it was the lesser surgery, Phillip. And, his stuff was really ticking up when I saw him in the spring. He had good numbers at Loyola Marymount as a full-time starter, but it's just kind of an unknown with these injuries. But certainly another candidate if he comes back healthy, given what we saw with Hunter.
At this point last year, we were hoping he could be the Saturday guy. There was an opportunity for that. I think due to this, maybe not that high, but could he be that high next year? Yeah, possibly. I think it all comes back to how well does his body recover from this. I thought Jake's body, recovered way ahead of schedule, and Jake was pretty much himself when he got back out there, if not a little better. So it all comes down to how guys' bodies, take to the operation. If he is successful, he is going to be the 4th or 5th best arm we have. at least right now, with a possibility to even trend higher than that. If it doesn't work out, well, it doesn't work out.
And there you have it, 3 left-handed pitchers, Gabe Beschloss, Dawson Neal, and Ryan Towers that we just profiled. Tomorrow, we will try and take a look at Alex Boucher and some others if we have time with our busy Friday show. Let's get a break in. We'll come back. Pirates got a new transfer commitment last night. Another guy coming off an injury in football. I'll tell you about him and more to wrap up the show. This is Hoist the Colors.
You know what the problem is with standard belts? Usually you have to choose between too tight or the opposite, too loose. But with Anson Belt and Buckle, you don't have to choose. We got rid of the holes and instead have a track system designed for micro adjustability. That way you can enjoy a perfect fit every time. Anson Belt and Buckle. Find your perfect fit today.
Daughtridge Gas and Oil has been your dependable propane supplier for 95 years. Their trained technicians can service and properly install all your propane and natural gas appliances. Plus, Daughtridge Gas and Oil is your backyard expert with fire pits, grills, smokers, and more, including quality outdoor furniture at their Greenville Patio and Hearth Shop at 1901 Charles Boulevard. Go by and see the knowledgeable staff at Daughtridge Gas and Oil for propane delivery or call 756-1345.
Other restaurants claim their food is fresh and fast, but are they friendly? At Moore's, you're treated like family the minute you walk into their doors. With locations in Winterville, New Bern, Swansboro, Morehead City, and Jacksonville. We've been practicing what we preach since 1945. At Moore's, our barbecue is slow cooked and smoked over real wood daily until it's so tender it's falling off the bone. Combined with our fresh chicken, cook-to-order seafood, and homemade fixins, we're sure you'll agree. If it's not Moore's, it's less.
Your confidence makes everything look good. You see the world in vivid color, not black and white. Swing through your neighborhood Fantastic Sam's Cut in Color and let our experienced stylists take you from everyday to extraordinary.
Fantastic Sam's hair salons are locally owned and operated. Our full-service salons are conveniently located in Goldsboro, Kinston, Greenville, New Bern, Jacksonville, and Calabash. Stop in today at Fantastic Sam's, where the possibilities are endless.
You have a choice when you invest in insurance, and when you choose First State Insurance Advisors, you're working with people you can trust. Clark Stallings has deep ties in the community. His team, including Keaton Smith, Regina Asby, Phil Leyva, Max Joyner Jr., Max Joyner III, and Ginger Smith, provides knowledgeable and professional advice. First State Insurance Advisors is an independent insurance agency. They offer all types of personal insurance as well as various types for business. Call or email First State Insurance Advisors today. We want to be your trusted choice
Loyal
agency.
and bold, we're the purple and golds.
Yo ho ho!
And we're back to Hoist the Colors with Stephen Igo on 94.3 The Game.
Final segment here, final few minutes of the show. We talk baseball, basketball, and football. Let's talk a little bit more portal recruiting. East Carolina gets a commitment last night from Miles Pollard, a transfer defensive back from Memphis. Now, he also spent 3 years at Michigan. Really good size, 6'2", 190. The interesting thing about Miles Pollard is this. He was a corner for Michigan for 3 years, went to Memphis, I think, originally to play corner. Also was going to play maybe some safety there. Got hurt, injured his knee, missed the entire season. So he's another guy coming off injury, coming to ECU, but has played a pretty solid amount of college football. I think 8 games appeared in. He was a reserve number 2 corner for Michigan on some of those teams across the 23 and 24 seasons playing at corner. Had some early hiccups at the beginning of those seasons, ended up not seeing as much playing time, but has some talent for sure. Those Michigan teams are pretty loaded. And even if he doesn't work out at safety, which is where ECU projects him as a bigger DB, has the potential to play corner too. So again, ECU has addressed the defensive backfield in a major way in this portal class. Of course, you lost a number of corners. You lost Jamarly Riddle to transfer to Georgia. You lost also Tegan Wilk to graduation. But with these guys incoming and with the younger safeties returning within the program like Kamari McKinley and also Aiden Duncanson, I think the upside of the room is at a good point. And now you just got to hope a couple of guys step up and take on those number one roles. But I like what they've done in the defensive backfield. All right, we will continue to react more to the portal tomorrow when Bobby Harvard's in. That's now 20-plus commits the Pirates have added via the portal. Of course, we're still waiting on the big quarterback news, and we'll keep you up to date there when that occurs. Phillip, we're out of time today, but are you ready for tomorrow's show for some divisional round picks, man? I'm fired up to talk some of course, some Broncos football, but some NFL playoffs.
Yeah, no, I'm excited. It's been a fun week. We've gotten through a lot, but it will be fun just to kind of be a little more relaxed maybe tomorrow and goof off. And, we'll keep it professional, but those Friday shows are always the best.
Indeed they are. Hope you guys join us for Friday. Interested to know your picks in a wide-open NFL playoff, so tune in. We know Lane Smith will not be picking the Eagles. Unfortunately for him, but we'll see who he has going to the Super Bowl if he'll tune in tomorrow as well. So it'll be a fun show. Looking forward to that. Bobby Harvard tomorrow. Appreciate Maceo Donald. Thanks to Phillip as well for his hard work putting this thing together. This has been Hoist the Colors. We'll see you 12 noon on Friday.
This has been Hoist the Colors with your host, Stephen Igo. Get a recap of this show at 943thegame.com and on your IBX Media app, on Twitter, Facebook, or anywhere you get your podcasts. Tune in weekdays at noon to get your ECU sports fix with Stephen Igo and Hoist the Colors on 94.3 The Game.
Hoist the Colors!